Hello, and today I'm going to be talking about my 3D printer. As you can see, my old hotend is no longer on the printer. The big problem was it kept jamming just randomly, and it seems to be there was actually a problem with the unit itself. I believe the Bowden tube comes all the way down to the bottom here, and I think it was kind of leaking and coming back up into the cooling block. So did a little bit of research, and I've heard mixed reviews about micro Swiss, but I thought, well, I think that's going to be the solution to this issue, and it's basically just a drop-in part, and of course it's also important to get a replacement Bowden tube, so that's what I've done. Comes in parts. You've got your hot end itself, which is a nice little unit there, the little adapter here with the cooling block, couple of tools. Oh, I'm glad to say we've got a tool to tighten up the actual hot end itself, and a little cooling block. So you've got a couple of little tiny grub screws. I believe that's to, oh, let's make sure this is in place. You've got a tiny couple of grub screws to screw into here to hold this in place. Now there are some holes, so you can in fact potentially use this block with the original unit, so you can take off the cooling block and replace this, or vice versa, whatever you want to do, and then you end up with this. So as you can see, it's a very similar size. It's not exactly the same size, and apparently it's all aluminium, and the tube doesn't go all the way down, so I might still be able to use what's left of my old tube. But one thing I did notice is when you push this in, it goes all the way down to, I guess, about here. But the problem is this bit then doesn't unlock and actually damages the tube about here. So you're sort of losing this amount of the tube every time you try and fix it. So yeah, that's a bit of a frustration, which is why I got the replacement tube and hot end. So it's a question now of making sure, if I remember correctly, I'm going to have to go on the YouTube video and check, but if I remember correctly, this goes on like so. We drop into here the actual heating element, and then into here we're going to be putting the little thermistor from the unit. And it's going to be hard for me to film it because my printer's actually still in its location. But yeah, it's pretty simple to do, and there is actually a video link, so the install instructions are here. Well, first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to screw this bit that pops into here. So just going to make sure the thread is nicely lined up. Do it up finger tight, and then obviously when it's hot you can probably tighten up a little bit more. And I've done it this way round, so the screws are on the bottom, which will match up with the original design. So if I just put that back there, so as you can see the screws go on the bottom. Now interestingly, you want the heat element on the outside, because if you put it this way round, you're going to have trouble fitting it back in the block. So you want it this way round, so this is all flush, and as you can see that does spin a bit freely. So we're going to need a little grub screw out of here just to pop in to, let's use this here, this little hole down in there, and then tighten that up, and that will stop it rotating around. And then as you can see, it's pretty much the same size as the original, apart from obviously the tube at the top. So hopefully minimal bed adjustment, but potentially a bit of bed adjustment. We're then going to get this little unit put in there. So I'm getting a new end. I believe I could reuse this, but I think I'm going to go with this unit. And apparently this whole thing with a firmware update will allow you to run hotter temperatures, etc. And as long as you don't go above, I think, 4mm retraction, you shouldn't have any jamming with this. But if you go above that, then you could have issues. Anyway, let's get this onto here, and also this tightened up. Well, very simply, again, just going to do a little bit of back threading just to make sure I'm not going to thread my screws, etc. And that's sort of done up tightly now. Is this the right size? Yes, it is. So just tighten that up a bit. We're then going to have to heat the hot end up and tighten this up again before actually putting any gunk through it. I can actually sort of see little bit of an air gap there which doesn't look right, so I might just quickly take this off camera and just double check everything. Now I've got the joy of trying to get this tiny little grub screw into this hole, so just going to pop it on, and I'm probably going to do it off camera because it's way too fiddly and I don't want to lose it. Okay, well I managed to put it in. It is sort of one directional, there is actually a little pointy bit, so let's just back screw it just to make sure it all clicks into place, and then let's tighten it up. There you go, I think we're good. Is that? Oh no, right, okay, let's have a fiddle with that. Okay, there you go, I think we've got it in, so let's just cinch that up. Let's just lay it flat, make sure it's all, yeah, and yeah, there you go, that's better. Pleased to say you get two Bowden like lock-in bits, and also you do get actually two of these little grub screws. So I've now got to transfer this across to the unit, get it fixed in place, and then I believe we just pop this on here and we're good to go. So I might need to double check the fitting instructions for this, but obviously need to heat it up and tighten it up before we pop that on. So remember, the heater unit's going to go in here, the little thermistor is going to go in here, and you've got to tighten this up without overly tightening it because you don't want to damage the cable. And it's pretty easy to fit. You just pop in two screws here and you're good to reassemble everything. Now, in a lot of the videos I've seen, they talk about heating it up and unscrewing this and doing that and doing the other. Well, to be honest, if you're just replacing this whole thing, undo the two screws here, undo the little grub screw on the bottom here to slide out your heater unit, undo this, pop out your thermistor, and you're good to go. Now you will have to scrape off the wrapping, which is why I'm glad to say you've got this, and it does look like this probably fits on this heater block as well, so you can use this sock on the original hot end. So I'm probably going to need to just back off the screws here to slide in the heater unit and then tighten it up after the fact. So I'm going to need my little tool, my unit, a Phillips screwdriver that doesn't come with the kit, and then my Bowden tube, and as I say, heat it up, good to go. We are actually at the hot end attachment, so these two screws are what hold on your hot end, so the hot end is going to be hanging here, and then these two screws here are for actually attaching the fan shroud. So I've got just sort of out of focus at the back here. Let's see, can we switch the focus? There you go, so that is going to slide on there, and then this little thermistor here is going to pop in this hole. So let me get that sorted out. To watch out for, there are these teeny little washers on these screws that go through and attach. Just make sure you don't lose them, they have a nasty habit of coming off. Well, as you can see, I've managed to get the little heat detector screwed in, and I've tightened up these bits to just cinch down on the heating block. One thing you do need to watch out for is the kit doesn't actually come with your little torque wrench to get the screws that go through here attached, but I can't remember whether these came with my A-net or with my CR10, but yeah, you might want to have a load of these kicking around. Anyway, I've managed to lose the washer. Let me go pick it up. It's luckily fallen on the glass bed here. Now, when it comes to tighten up these screws here, you do need to try and make sure this is level with the bed. So that's going to be a bit fiddly, and I'm going to have my hand in the way, etc. So I'm going to do that off camera. Well, I've pretty much got everything back in place. Just need to line these two holes up here with the two holes on the fan shroud in. But what I'm going to do is going to heat this up and then tighten up the nozzle just to make sure everything's good to go. The problem in that this is all metal, so you might get rather hot fingers trying to use this tool to tighten up the nozzle, so you're going to have a solution for that. As you can see, I've got the sock on. The groove goes on this side, otherwise you won't actually get it on, so there you go. Okay, I don't know if you can see it, but here is some PLA. So let's get a print going and see if it's all working okay. Well, as you can see, everything's back together, and I'm just doing the test print. I had to abort the first run because the bed leveling was off, so stuff at the front of the bed was printing fine but not at the back. So done another round of bed leveling 2 or 3 times. Hopefully this time you will actually get a print, and just waiting for the bed and then the hot end to heat up, and away we go. And here we are, about 40 minutes later, with some coins which got a nice glossy smooth surface underneath, and the print quality is looking pretty good, particularly on this 5 unit coin. These are actually for the game Gloomhaven. It's off Thingiverse. If I can find the link, I'll put it in the description. So yeah, expect a little bit more news on the 3D printing now I've got it all back up and running again.